Greetings, seekers of holistic knowledge. If you want to get better, this is the show to watch because we are covering everything you need to know to work on your inner soul, your inner body, and make sure that is right because then you're in a better position to handle what life throws at you. In today's episode, we're covering something I heard on the radio the other day. People are having a lot of identity crisis. So, to talk about identity crisis, I've got a friend, VijeV, to help me uncover this topic. VijeV, I hope you're not having an identity crisis today.
Luckily, not today, but I've had the crisis throughout my life, through from youth till now, all because of identity. What does identity mean? It is a persona that we live by, that we project internally, but also project externally. It's who we tell ourselves who we are and who we tell the world. That's what identity really is. It's who we tell ourselves who we are. Even if the world might not see you the way you expected, that's not really an identity problem. That's just a people perception problem or people's own prejudice. I mean, if people see you as a different race or a different culture, that's their problem. It's identity crisis about who you see as yourself, and it doesn't match that inner calling that you have. There's an inner calling that is very cloudy, it's very mushy. It exists inside of you, and it doesn't match the persona that you've chosen. Jim Carrey had, the actor Jim Carrey, the very, very amazing actor, said that depression is your soul telling you, I no longer want to play the role you have chosen for me. Meaning your soul is saying to sing, to dance and express, and you're sitting in the office working 9 to 5 job because it's safer, because it pays the bills, because that's what you're supposed to do, because that's what makes it safe. And eventually it cracks. A few years later, you feel it, and you no longer can hold that job. And I've been through that personally. I've been through many corporate jobs where I told myself I'm going to be a good IT guy or a sales guy or an engineer or corporate guy who's going to do sales and business and wear the suit and all of that. But after a few jobs, I've had the same meetings every time. Reality was knocked out of me when I saw the kind of world it is. It is an artificial world created to keep us in line to serve a bigger company's specific goal of just making profit. They literally do everything for the sake of profit. It is not done for the good of society or any way. If they can just cut anything loose, no matter how hurtful it is, if it hurts profit margins, it will be gone. And then you get shocked to find out they're making record profit. And I'm thinking, this is really heartless. How is it that you're making $40 billion profit and it's not enough? And you're complaining and you're all sad. Why are you all depressed? And I know that it exists because in the working world, have you ever noticed when you meet your work friends in personal time, when you used to work with people in the office, but then you meet them outside somewhere in the outer world, and you see them with the family, like you're with your family and they with your family, and you see each other, all of a sudden it gets awkward. It's like, oh, hey, hi, hey, I'll see you at the office, bye. There's such a mismatch. It's like, that's how you know that the world that you're living in there is a persona that's put on as a mask, willingly, in fact, by some people, simply because that's the role you have to play. And my inner voice is very strong. It literally slaps me dead, like straight, and says, nope, this is not for you. Stop trying to pretend. And that inner voice is how you listen to find out what your identity is. And your crisis, the bigger the crisis, bigger the gap between the persona you're playing and the actual inner calling. The bigger the gap, the bigger the depression. You need to reduce that because you need to find a way to align that inner voice to the real person that you are. And the only way to do that is you have to let go of the persona that you gave yourself and allow yourself to listen and absorb and become receptive with what the world is saying so that you know who you are. You may not know immediately because when the persona starts to change, what's important is when it starts to change, you have awareness. The inner gap, when the gap is gets bigger and bigger because you're starting to hold down as hard as you can in order to fit in, the harder your soul starts to fight you back, the bigger the depression. Only way to transition is to let go. You have to let go so that you can be receptive. It's like you are tuning your inner compass. You've been fixed all your life at 93.3 FM, where the signal is clear, it's safe, and you know it exists, so you're always used to it. But your inner soul's frequency exists somewhere else, but you don't know. So what do? You tune the radio. But in order to tune it, you have to tune out of 93.5, and it becomes static and noisy. Now everything is murky because you're discovering things that don't exist anymore. You're discovering things that are in the unknown. It is scary. You panic. What is this? There's nothing here. It's empty space. But you keep tuning and you keep changing. Eventually, you might hit small little frequencies here and there, and you start to discover what's out there. And then, as you do that and you tune it, you're going to hit a frequency that is steady and focused, something completely different from the previous one. And then you become aligned. You become aligned to your soul because now you are receptive. You change the frequency, the inner radio of the mind or the soul, and you found it. But in order to find it, you have to be willing to go through the noise, the white noise, as you tune a radio. I'm sure if you know, if you ever had those old radios and you tune from one station to the next, there's that noise in between before it hits another station. There's a noise in between and it hits another station. And then eventually you hit a station that's really clear, and suddenly it says it's stereo and it's very loud and it's high quality because you hit a major frequency. That is you suddenly discovering something about yourself. And myself, that is me going from corporate life, tuning myself, where I discovered art, photography, music, TV, film industry, becoming an actor, becoming a YouTuber, doing podcasts, more art, writing, storytelling, science fiction. And you think, I didn't realize I could do any of this. In between all of that. And that's how you know that your inner soul is saying you need to change your frequency. Change that dish. If you have DSTV dishes, you need to change, you need to tune it out. You have to be willing to lose that old signal. That old safe signal is no longer serving you. And find other signals that's more aligned with your soul. And then you realize, oh, this feels aligned. I feel at peace. I feel balance. I feel joy. I feel serendipity. That is your life's frequency hitting something that you know that you're doing. That is how you understand your identity crisis. That when you have it, understand it's a good thing. Because it's literally the universe telling you are in the wrong place. You are privileged. You are in a unique, powerful, privileged position because the universe is telling you things.
So this is exactly what they were talking about on the radio, right? So the issue was that so many people are having identity crisis at the moment. And when I heard this on the radio, I couldn't actually stop laughing because they were saying people don't know who they are. Everyone is asking, who am I? Because they're clearly not happy with who they are. And that's why this question arises, like, who am I? Why am I doing this? Like, what am I doing? What is my purpose? And this has become such a big issue that it was like quite a long show on the radio, and they spoke about exactly what you said, that people have depression, they start having bipolar issues, they have mood swings, all this mental clutter because of an identity crisis, because they actually don't know who they are. And it makes perfect sense now, the way you've explained it. And I guess if I think about it in my experience as well, you're an artist if you think about it, right? You, VG, are an actual artist because you're doing art, you're telling stories, you're creating. And if you had stayed in your previous identity, which was an engineer, if I remember correct, so you were an engineer.
Writing code, engineering, doing things in the telecommunications business, IT business, engineering business. And it was a very straight up corporate job. Everything was done for the company. You've got to basically give your life and soul. If you have a hobby or anything outside of it is punished. You have to give your life to a company that has no problem of cutting you.
Yeah, so maybe tell us how you experienced it. What was it? Did you start just feeling depressed and dreading work? How did your identity crisis sort of manifest, and how did you get out of it?
First sign of depression was a few months in just the first job when I realized this is something you have to do every single day, 8 to 5, every single day. You're giving up 80% of your time for a measly amount of money at that time. You're just starting off. And you got to do this for the rest of your life. And then what? They gift you a gold watch? Because, that was the stereotype. You get a gold watch after 60 years of service every single day of this. The human experience is so vast and so diverse. How is it that we choose this as our life? How is it that everyone, I know for a fact others are not happy, but they just get on with it because they have bills to pay. And so I get it. I get that.
But I mean, you also had bills to pay, right? You also, um, I mean, you had spent so much money on studies. You went to a university. You did the whole tertiary education, 4 years, 5 years. I don't know what it is. So you accumulated a huge amount of study expenses, and you had bills. You had a house to pay, car, general bills, food to eat, all that stuff. So you're in the same predicament. So why didn't you just suck it up and carry?
I know what? I have tried. I tried to suck it up. I thought maybe this job is just not for me. Let me try a different job. Then another job. And then another job. And I thought I am not lasting more than a year anywhere. And the problems are the same. It's all the same mindset.
Really, eh? So even though jumping from one place to another, because I think that's what they said a lot of people do is they change. They say, oh no, this job is not right, or this place is not right, or this town is not right, or something outside is an issue, and then they say, okay, let me change that circumstance, and that will solve everything. So let me change jobs, or let me change cities, or let me change roles. Maybe I was a salesperson, now I'm going to be more of an analyst or something. But this is another interesting thing they raised on the radio um, conversation. They said people try changing the outer world, like their outer experience, but soon realize that they end up in exactly the same place again, like the same thing plays out, the same scenario. And is that really what you experience?
Exactly. It's exactly. All I was doing was changing the clothes, but the body was still not right, or the mind was not right. I would change my clothes, or change my physical appearance, or change a physical location. It does nothing because I wasn't changing my inner self, because the inner self required a courageous change in taking something that is stable, something that is supposedly safe, and it said, "This is not you." It was exactly what Jim Carrey said. It's your soul saying, "Sorry, I am not willing to play the persona you have been assigned, because the persona that you're playing is vastly different from your inner calling."
How did you experience the depression? Did you start having mood swings? Did you what started? How did you? What is the depression for you?
Yes, the depression being mood swings, not feeling like working anymore. You feel like, what is this that I'm doing every single day? This stuff sucks. It doesn't give me joy. This is not what this can't be like. This can't be it. How can this be it? The fact that you just suck it up and work, there's no way this is life. There's more to this. Why are we these human beings with consciousness in the universe, where we have self projection, where we realize where we are in the universe? The fact that we can look at the universe and look at creation back at us and look at the vastness of this universe. The fact that it's 16 billion light years in terms of the known universe. The fact that the galaxy is so big, the fact that it takes energy of the star exploding into a supernova that can shine like 100 trillion suns to create the materials that's in your body. It takes that much energy to create the material that create life. That's how much effort the universe has put in to create who we are, and the fact that we have consciousness to look at creation to back at us and thinking this is the world that we have created, so that we pay bills and pay rent and participate in this fakery that has been created that only accumulates and helps a 0.1% of the world.
Yeah, so it sounds like the symptoms you had was similar to what the article was talking about or the radio show was talking about. Feeling insecure, not trusting your own judgment, questioning people around you, despair towards the future, feeling like you're running out of time, increased anxiety, increased aggression. And and that was really you becoming aware, like, okay, I'm not really happy. This is not good for me. Uh, and then what did you do? Because this is probably the key step. This is the most important thing. What did you actually do to get out of that rut?
The real part of the identity crisis, on top of the symptoms you mentioned, on top of that, are the ones that get worse when you try to hold on even more, is self doubt, self hatred. You feel mediocre. There's a saying that if every animal is assessed on being a good swimmer, only the fish can win. If you're assessed, everyone is assessed as a good swimmer, only the fish can swim. So every other animal with their unique abilities are seen as wastes or useless.
So you were saying that you saw that the measure that they were measuring your ability was not the ability you wanted to be measured on, right? So you said, no, I don't want to be measured on my swimming ability.
Like, how can GDP or economy or the accumulation of money be the basis? Why is it Forbes 30 under 30 or Forbes 500 based on money? Why are we respecting the billionaires? Why are we respecting the billionaires? Why are they special? I mean, these are privileged folks who accumulate money, do what they do, and while 90% of people are basically scrapping along. Why does that have to be? Why can't we create a world with all the knowledge that we have, with all the technology, and make human life the priority instead of the priority being GDP? Why don't we want to live in a nice, clean, beautiful environment and a beautiful natural earth? What's the point of destroying everything so that I can mine everything, have money, but then I have no earth to live on? They're pushing for private rockets so that they can take you off Earth. Apparently, there's a plan now to build the Elysium. Have you watched that movie Elysium, where Earth was completely ravaged due to mining and overpopulation?
Earth becomes a prison. I think, yeah, Earth becomes like the prison place, and then the elites stay on this like off Earth spaceship type.
Apparently, they're planning this because they think that once they've done with this, they're gonna go elsewhere. And I'm thinking, no, we need to look at a way where all our effort goes into, instead of building spaceships that can go far away, imagine we have a world where 99% of the world are living with the basic necessities of life. Not, here's a place to stay, here's how much money I make, here's how much rent I'm paying, here's the food, and here's the medication. Where all the life requirements, the basic stuff, have become very expensive.
Yeah, yeah. Life is life is almost unlivable. I mean, it's too expensive for even the middle income.
Yeah, look at the cost of healthcare and medicine, education, housing, safety, and all the things that necessitate life have been commoditized so much through greed that in the United States, where medication is privatized so much and so capitalized, that life-saving medication for a leukemia, I think, it will cost like 5 million rand a year if you a subscription. If you don't pay it, you die. And it doesn't have to cost that much because they mentioned that they were doing like 50,000% markup or something. Crazy capitalism because they know they can take advantage because it's life-saving drug. That's what I'm talking about. We've reached this point. And I said this cannot be it.
But that's the system. So the way to get out of it, because it sounds like, okay, you decided, cool, I'm not happy with the corporate role, and then you decided to quit corporate and travel for a bit to find yourself. Is that a practical thing for people who are having identity crises at the moment? I mean, is it possible to quit your corporate and go travel around the world? I mean, you are probably in a unique position to be able to do that. And there are many people who do that.
Finding yourself is a privilege at the moment. Finding yourself means you got to have the resources to actually disconnect and do it. I mean, yes, I had to pull off the band-aid a little bit harder because I had to make a choice. I didn't have any plans for the next 2 to 3 years, but I had a little bit. Like other people who like really plan across 5 years. I had no plan. I wanted to actually just discover through sheer randomness of the world and trust my inner psyche will find it. I trust my inner self and say, I'm going to put myself out there and find what's out there without putting a plan. I don't want to say, I want to do art. I want to do photography. I never did that. All I said was, what is going to make my world, inner world, align with the persona I want to be?
Were you just looking for things that made you happy? Was that it? You were like, hey, I like taking photos. It makes me happy. And is that maybe a simpler way to go about it?
I was looking at my inner, of course there's a compass inside you. So I was looking at my instincts. My instincts would say, this is strong compared to all of this. Not pottery glasses, not pottery or woodwork or running a coffee shop or owning a school or whatever, but instead the visual art, the fact that I love stories, the fact that my dreams feel like movies, the fact that I can see a story playing in my mind that can be told in such a way. I'm thinking, how do I identify what are these things in the form of storytelling that is going to fit me? I chose photography because that was the cheapest, easiest entry to understand the visual language world, how to capture the universe that's there and learn about it. Photography. As I had more resources, I looked at videography. I had more resources, I looked at videos and photos and filmmaking, and then I got into TV. Then I started working with the film industry and the ad industry, or the art industry, or the ad industry, creative industries, agencies, the people who make the ads on TV, of course, and people who write. What about novels? What about different themes like fiction and non-fiction? All of these things I would prod and see, and some of them it was just like radio. Some of them were fine-tuned and light, while others were very strong. I said, this really tickles my soul. I'm going to put it into my toolbox. And it became permanent. The photography stayed with me for 10 years, 15 years. Business, running a business, doing things on your own, that stayed with me for 10 years. And then I started to say, there's an overlap here, isn't it? If I take photography, if I take business, if I take storytelling, if I take marketing and all these wonderful things, there's suddenly an overlap of things that I'm doing where it includes all 4 or 5 of those things. And all of a sudden, it starts to pinpoint at an area completely different from where I was. So, only way to find your identity is see where your multiple experiences that really tickle your fancy overlap together. Where does photography and storytelling come together? Where does cinematography, photography, filmmaking, and writing and science fiction and all of these things put together? And I can see a picture starting to form. And slowly but surely, my compass is tuning towards that direction. And I'm just letting myself go there with no plan. I'm not saying I'm going to do this movie or I'm going to do that book. I'm discovering it. But it's taking me there. And it's taking me step by step.
So that really is this. That really is discovering yourself, and I love that the way you explain it. Right, go try these things. Try what makes you happy and then find the overlap, because you're the only person that's uniquely having these specific kind of interests and these views and this life experience and maybe even previous experiences that gives you the specific subjective view and opinion. And all these skills that you have, when you mix it together, is really discovering your true self and identity and your true talent, right? And I think that's sort of what you inadvertently did, is um, find the stuff that makes you happy, which is stuff that you enjoy doing, and then find the commonality with it so you can create this unique offering and service to the world. And I think that's really what all of us are here to do.
Yes, and there's a one thing I have learned from all of this. The key to success of who you can be, not material success, financial success, you success, where you are your best, where you're living a balanced, joyful life, where you are living at your highest self, is to understand how you work. Your first job, understand how you work. What makes you you? And the only person that can answer that question is you. You need to know, why is it that you're lactose intolerant? Did you know that it's because it's food causing it? Get rid of it so that you're healthier, so that you have more energy. Don't punish yourself, get rid of it. Find things that do suit you. A diabetic can say, I want to keep sugar, but it's going to harm you and kill you. If you do it, you have to get rid of it, because your body is and works that way. Your mind also works that way. What you feed in is going to actually accumulate and make you a bigger, better, because it's like a good habits that stack up. And as it stacks up, it actually makes the best version of you. But then some things you do doesn't work for you. You have to let that go. I mean, yes, it's great that morning jungle oats is great for this guy because he can build muscle or whatever. Or maybe what's a good one? Oh, whey protein. Whey protein is actually a very good source of protein to build muscle if you want to be a bodybuilder, let's say, or if you want to build muscle because you want to be, physically stronger. Unfortunately for me, whey protein is cow protein. It causes issues. I can't use it. That's me learning how I work functionally and spiritually and emotionally. Listen to your body. Functionally, how does it work based on what you eat? Spiritually, how does it work in terms of how you tune into the universe? Emotionally, how do you work? Why is it that opera connects with you, but rock music does not? But rock music connects with someone else. But for you, opera does. Focus on opera. Understand why opera. Why is opera calling to you? Go and find out. Meet people who are doing opera. That's your job. Listen to your inner self and go towards that. Go towards, there are multiple lights. There's not just one light, there are multiple lights, some brighter than others. Go find out why. I mean, Deepak, you mentioned that you love certain types of books. I think it was some fictional story you mentioned. Ask yourself, chess. Why is it that you like chess so much? And you follow chess quite religiously while others don't. That's an inner calling telling you to go and learn and do more of it. Because you will actually immediately know that when you do something and you keep doing it, you want to do more and more. That's how you know that's an inner calling telling you this is for you. Put it in your toolbox.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, like you said, don't listen. They've stopped listening. They've forgotten to listen to themselves. They listen to the outer worlds telling them, you need to keep working. You need to keep doing this thing that you don't enjoy. You need to do it because you need to buy these things that we tell you that you should buy.
Uh, that you don't need. All you're doing is making more money for other people. And you're not listening to your own self that you don't need because it's not meant for you. Maybe that it's better for somebody else, but it's still a material gain that doesn't serve any other purpose other than more accumulation. So listen to yourself. And in order to be open is willing to let go of your old self, willing to let go of who you thought you should have been, because society says that that's what a successful persona is. I think I've tried to play the persona of a successful person identified and given to me and said, this is what a successful person is like. My parents will tell me that. My family, friends, whatever environment you're in that doesn't actually serve you. They will try and mold you into that. And then you start to have shame and self-hatred, and you wonder, why am I so useless? Why is it that I cannot climb tree? Why is it all the people around me can climb trees so well, and I am struggling to climb a tree? I am such an idiot. I am useless. I am worthless. And yet all of these people around me can climb trees. And only when you become aware and you realize you're actually a fish and you were meant to be in the ocean.
Yeah, that's when you find yourself. That's when you find yourself. If you tried to climb trees and you're a fish, you're just going to hate it. You're going to struggle and you're going to hate it and you're going to be depressed. And I guess really that is the identity. And how do you discover that? That's exactly what we spoke about. Go try the things that you enjoy, find out what makes you happy, experiment, and then find the overlap and really embrace it. And I guess not to be afraid. And these are things I guess we take it for granted because we've sort of walked that road a bit. But it is quite daunting for a lot of people, and I can totally understand why this is a crisis around the country. It is because a lot of people are not happy with the way that their life is sort of going and turning out, and that's why they're having this crisis of identity.
And don't forget, people in privileged positions are also having an identity crisis because they're realizing that the world is actually giving up on the status quo that they're in that gives them the privilege. Meaning they're in a position because of the subjugation and oppression of others. They're there because they've taken it from others willingly. It's the mass accumulation of wealth from one place to the next. And they are part of that inner circle. And people are starting to realize, oopsie, if we are going to be a better world, it means we have to let go of this. That's why they fight harder. They want to stay longer because having that privilege of being better than someone else and having more than someone else and being treated better than someone else is such a privilege. It's hard to let go, which is why our transition is slow, which is why we are taking time. But slowly but surely, every single day, every single person from that side and this side are starting to realize that there is a world that is coming through. The souls are starting to reveal themselves, that we are moving away from this world that we're trying to hold on to. This very capitalist, very materially aligned, very workaholic, power dynamic, haves versus have-nots, disconnected, very artificial world towards a spiritually aligned, emotionally aligned human society where the value goes from GDP to SDP, meaning instead of gross domestic product to spiritual domestic product. I don't know, SDP. That's what I was trying to call it. But I mean, there's probably a better name for that. But yes, but GDP refers to the fact that you are making more than me, therefore you are better than me. And I'm saying the fact is, you don't have to validate and prove anybody by making stuff. You are not better than anybody because you can produce 5,000 cars and I'm doing 1,000 cars. No, you are enough. Just being us. That makes us human. And that in itself will prevent us from having to compete with one another. I mean, why in the world are we fighting each other? I mean, imagine what the universe will be like. I'm not saying Earth. Imagine what the universe will be like when humanity actually work together towards a common goal.
Well, I mean, this is the new earth that we're creating, so we are going to create it.
To summarize, the identity crisis is realizing that the persona that we're playing no longer matches the persona of our inner calling. And the transition between that artificial persona that's been given to us, or that's been assigned to us, or it's been indoctrinated to us, is falling away like shells, that falls away. And as we let go, that's what causes our depression, it causes our anxiety, it causes our pain. But it is actually a necessary pain because we are breaking out of our cocoon. We are breaking out. in becoming the butterfly. And identity crisis is actually just a universal psychological way for your system telling you change is happening. Are you aware? So it's not a bad thing. Identity crisis is not a bad thing. It is simply a sign.
It is a sign, exactly. I was going to say that. It's a sign telling you, hey, you're going the wrong way. Turn, turn, otherwise you're going to end up in the ghetto. You're trying to get to the beach. So turn quickly. And it's a sign. Otherwise, yeah, so I agree with you. We should be grateful, right, for the crisis. We should be grateful and say, "Oh, thank you for telling me and giving me the sign, so I can actually change the course of my life and get to where I really want to go, and not where this road is leading me."
Yes, it's your inner compass. It's your inner GPS. Identity crisis is one of the inner GPS telling you you're on the wrong path.
Excellent, cool. So, guys, this is a new show that me and VG are starting. So every week we're going to cover a relevant topic that's in the news. This week it happened to be identity crisis, which I heard on the radio, which happened to be a major issue this week. And next week we'll cover whatever is relevant on the news that affects the spiritual journey that you're going on. This is a weekly show. We hope you've enjoyed it. We definitely want to provide relevant and practical discussion. So catch us next week.
Thank you so much. And that's a pleasure being here with you. VijeV, over and out.